It is, thankfully, but.
Remembered to remind you.
Now I'm recording.
Okay.
Great. Let's see. All right.
You have two of these in front of you.
Yeah, if I have calculated my timing correctly, we're going to use both of them tonight, but we'll see. So we're going to get started, and I just want us to gather our materials. So we're going to use our Perma Micro Perm, or if you prefer the Micron O1, I've heard from some of you that this is not your favorite pen. That's fine. A black pen of your choice, and a Zentangle pencil and a torchon. That's all you need tonight, and your two square tiles, which if you've painted them, wonderful. If not, also wonderful. All good. Okay. So, oh, we are 15. I can't hold on. I want to work on my view of what's happening right now because no, that's not what I want. I guess maybe it's fine. I want to, usually I can have you all in like a sidebar and then I can see if you have questions. Hold on, I want to do this differently. Speaker?
Up in view,
Yeah.
I think you want to do.
No, I see. Maybe no, I see that. Ah, there we go. I got it. I got it. It was just because I wasn't in full screen mode. Okay, now we're good. Okay. So let's settle in. If you have any clutter in your space that you can clear away and remove for right now, that's great. If you are brave enough to turn off your cell phones or silence them or put them somewhere else, that would be a very brave and rewarding thing to do. Promise you it will feel good. And find a comfortable seat, feet flat on the floor. You can place your hands in your lap, and I invite you to close your eyes and let's just take a few deep breaths together, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Again, a long, slow inhale through the nose and hold it for a moment and then let it out slowly and leave yourself empty at the bottom of the breath for just a moment. Again, inhale deeply through your nose, hold it and let it out. Hold it at the end of the exhale. Inhale long and slow and deep. Hold it at the top and then slowly release. You can return to breathing naturally, but try to find that deep, slow breath in a way that's comfortable for you. Take a moment to check in with your body. Do a quick scan. I love to do this. We ignore our bodies all day long, just expecting them to do what we want them to. Check in if you need to do some head rolls, stretching your neck in one direction and then the next. Reverse it, go the other way. Some shoulder shrugs back and then forwards. If you care to, a gentle twist in your chair over to the left and then over to the right. Shaking out your legs, rolling your bottom half of your legs around, stretching your knees, your ankles, pressing your balls of your feet against the floor, stretching your arches, and then maybe pressing the tops of your toes down into the floor, and then releasing. Take a moment to set an intention for your Zentangle practice this evening. It's a practice, it's not a perfect. We are learning, we're playing, we're exploring, we're trying new things, we're unlocking creativity. So maybe your intention is to be kind to yourself. Maybe it's to be daring. Maybe it's to just carve out some time for you. Whatever it is, set an intention, and I'll invite you to come back to that throughout the evening. One more deep breath in together and let it out. And when you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. As always, feel free to ask any questions along the way, but you are muted, so unmute and shout at me if you need anything. Let's start with our square that if you have painted yours, if you were with me, then set the one with the string and the border aside for a moment. I think we might have time for that one a little later. I have two tiles tonight that I think are a little bit faster. So I'm going with this one that has no string and no border. And we're not going to do anything with our pencil to start with. Take a look and enjoy your beautiful tile that you may have already painted on. It's a work of art in and of itself. If yours is a blank tile, rejoice in a blank canvas to do whatever you want with it. It's a piece of art waiting to be made. That's exciting. And I'm going to take my pen and we're going to get started. So I'm going to roughly look for the middle of this tile. I am not going to spend too much time worrying about it, but you know, you can kind of go this way and kind of go this way and say, oh, okay, this is my middle-ish right here. And I'm going to make a little dot with my pen right in the center. And then I'm going to go right to about where I would make a corner dot if I was going to do a border. I'm going to make a little dot there. I'm going to do the same on the opposite corner, so diagonal. I'm holding my square as a diamond right now. Another one there. And then I'm going to make 2 dots roughly equidistant in this space here, here, and here. And the same thing on this side here and here. Again, if yours are not exactly spaced or, you know, slightly imperfect or wonky, as I like to say, that's okay. Zentangle is not an exact science. So now we're going to use these dots as a guide for a series of curves. So I'm going to start to the left of this dot in the corner here and come around this way. So I'm going to go from here to here. And then I'm going to go in the opposite direction around this next set here, from here to here. Opposite direction, from here to here. Other side from here to here. From here to here. Down to the bottom. Okay, doesn't have to be exact. Okay, now I want to connect these curved lines that we've made. So I'm going to make sure that they touch here and they touch here, making these little seed shapes. So this one will touch here and this one here, like so, and like so, here and here, like this. And then the ones at the end, I'm just getting my glasses. I'm realizing everything's a little blurry. And then these ones on the end, you can just make a little loop at the top and a little loop at the bottom. By the way, this tangle is called Me Too, which in this day and age is a little bit of an unfortunate name, but it was created by a non like original Zentangle person, but it's a great tangle, and this tile is based on the Project Pack 25 series that Zentangle headquarters sent out not long ago during you know, the holiday season. All right, so now these little spaces, these little eyelets that we've created, we're going to go ahead and color them in. And in a few moments, this tangle is going to come alive and become very three-dimensional. A lot of overlapping and weaving through. And then we have some fun things to play with this base tangle. And all of it has another layer of interest because of our painted background. Take your time with the coloring in, enjoy it. Okay, so something interesting is happening already. Lots of nice ink on our tile. All right, so now I'm going to go down the left side first. I'm still holding my tile in a diamond orientation. And I'm not going to touch anything at the top. I'm going to create an aura around this side, and I am going to touch down that line right there. And I'm going to do the same thing right here in this space. And the same thing here. And once you finish that, then we're going to go on the other side to these curves over here. If you want, you could turn your tile around if that feels better for you. You can go keep your drawing hand in the same position and just do the same thing on the other side, trying to keep the same distance of your aura. And then with our little end pieces, you can just wrap around like so and wrap around like so. Okay, so we've got something like that. We've got this weaving in and out that you can see already unfolding. So now I'm gonna have this Me Too pattern going horizontally across my drawing space. That just is what feels comfortable for me. I'm gonna start with this piece here, and I'm going to extend out a little bit underneath behind this shape that's here. And we're going to play with a poke leaf, poke root kind of a shape here. If you've tangled with me before, you know this tangle. So it's this little stem that's coming out here, these two lines. We put a little bit of a cap on it. And then we're going to make this really fun pod shape. So I'm going to come down on this side, making a long teardrop shape like that. So it's kind of like a poke leaf. You can see I'm intentionally being kind of wiggly wobbly with my lines. And the way that in the Zentangle tutorial online, they're talking about a plant called like a Chinese lantern, something like that. I don't know. They're like these very delicate shaped pods. So here's how they grow. I'm going to show you now. So from on one side, we're going to scoop out and around. And then the other side, come out and around. And then one more set, you can draw behind. Okay, this sort of leafy shape, and then you could divide that center first one that we did down the middle, just like that. We get this very pretty leafy shape. All right. Now we're going to make another one that's going to grow out over here underneath these ones, and it's going to, we want it to kind of go behind this one that's here. So I'm curving mine around a little bit to kind of guide where I want it to go. They sort of have a mind of their own, so you know, yours will go where it goes. Okay, so I make that little cap around it, and that same starting shape, we don't need them to all look the same, so it can have a different trajectory. And then grow and you can sort of have a little bit going behind it too. And then you could put another one over here, or you could make a little, just a little like a curly Q kind of a thing. I didn't have a lot of room over there, so I just made a tendril. But I will, oh, and we can divide down the center of this middle piece to give it a little more texture. I will make one more over on this side. Okay, so we've got these three pretty little leaf shapes, or these little Chinese lantern shapes. Oh, and we have this one little thing over here that still needs to be resolved. So maybe we have one more little curly Q thing that happens over here. Because we see how this is a vine that's kind of twining around. And we can divide that one down the center there. All right, so once we've done that side, we're going to go around. I'm going to turn mine around to face the other way. We're going to do the same thing in the other direction. So find this stem here that's waiting to be adorned. Put your little cap on. Go ahead and draw that elongated leaf shape. And then the different parts that kind of grow it. It's sort of a heart shape. Gonna do another one over here. So you're gonna put as many as feels right on your tile. Your layout may be different from mine, so play around with what shapes are going to fit best, and don't be afraid to overlap and draw behind. You don't want them to all look the same. So I've got this thing here that goes way behind another one. So I'm going to put one that comes all the way out over here and goes off to the side. And then if you want to do little tendrils or things that, if you want to do more of these lantern shapes that kind of go behind, I think I might put one more little one here. So I have 4 on one side and 3 on the other. I like the unevenness of that. All right, so that's the whole tangle there. Let's go back in and add a little love and attention to some of these lines. So I like to go where there are intersections of lines, and I like to add a little bit of weighting. Go back over my line a little bit. Just curving at those intersections. So here, this is a good example right here. You see this V here? Imagine this is like a pane of stained glass and the lead has kind of pooled in this crevice here. So I'm just adding a little extra ink and curving that around. And you can do that here at this intersection. At every intersection, just imagine a little bit more ink pooling in that crevice and just adding intentionality to that line. Sometimes it's even, it even gets filled in. Extra ink just lets the eye know that you really meant those lines to be there. And it's one of my favorite things to do in Zentangle, to go back over and reiterate the line, make it really pronounced and give it some grace. I'm going back over some of these curly cues and just kind of making them a little bit three-dimensional. You can do it on these lantern shapes that we made. Maybe where they emanate from the stem is a little bit darker and they get lighter as they go down. Can tell the difference between this side that I just added weighting to and this one, which I haven't done as much to yet. Just having fun, taking my time with this, remembering to breathe, come back to your intention. What do you want to get out of this time? All right, so this is beautiful as it is. It will pop with some shading, and on the Zentangle video, they had a really cool way of shading these shapes. So go ahead and take up your Zentangle pencil. I'm going to focus in on this one, and I'm going to shade this upper part of this section just a little bit. Then I'm going to skip one, and I'm going to shade the upper section of this one. Now I'm over here. I'm skipping the one right next to the first one that I did. So every other, and I'm going to add some graphite like that. And now I'm going to go down to the bottom of this shape, and all the ones that don't have graphite in the top part are now going to get graphite in the bottom part. So alternating. Going about maybe a third of the way up the shape. Okay, alternating every other one. And just so you can see what it looks like when I go in with my tortillon, I'm going to blend out the pencil and then let it fade to unshaded in the center. So darkest towards the stem at the top, and you can even make a little bit of shading where it goes behind the overlapping pieces, and then shading the underneath the bottom pieces up towards the middle. So it's this striping effect with the shading. And with the painted background, if yours is painted as well, then you get all of the interest of the color also. So we're going to do that on all of these lantern shapes. You can vary which ones you know how you're shading, but you're going to go every other from the top, and then every other segment from the bottom. And then if you want to, as you go, you can do the shading. And you can just use what's on your tortillon to add the little bit of shading on the overlapping vines. Okay, and just go back and forth with your pencil, however you want to do it. If you want to put all the pencil down first, you can, and then use the tortillon. Do the top sections first, and then your alternating bottom sections. Check in with your breath. Check in with your body. Are you hunching your shoulders? Clenching your jaw? Relax. I love how the colors of the watercolor are coming through the underside. When you're ready, turn your tile around and you're going to do the same thing to your shapes on the other side. This was not a shading technique I had seen before, and it's a really pretty accent to use. I really like it, and I think it has a lot of possibility and potential for all kinds of usage in different tangle patterns. I like the activity of, putting the graphite on a little section and then going right to the shading. You can see each of these shapes start to come to life. There's also something very pleasing in the just sort of repetitive nature of knowing that you shade one shape and then you just go right on and do the same thing to the next. It's a similar repetition, but it's not exactly the same because each of our shapes are slightly different. But we know what comes next. It's very comforting. So we are going to end up with something like what you see in front of you. So I'm adding, so this was the Zentangle project pack 25, and this was day 10. So I'm just writing that on the back of mine. If any of you are participate in the Zentangle Mosaic app, that's what this one is. But ours has an extra special layer of being watercolored and having color to it.
Micah, what was the project pack number again?
It's project pack 25, and it was day 10. But we painted ours, so we're special. So if you are in a place where you're feeling like you're wrapping up this tile and you want to put your chop on it, go ahead and do that. Your initials, something that designates this tile as yours from the front.
Micah,
Yes?
if we don't have it colored, is there anything you suggest instead of just having it white like that? Should I take a colored pencil and use the side of it? And I'm not really sure.
I mean, you certainly can. My practice was without color.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I mean, I think it's beautiful as is.
Okay.
And the way that the Zentangle people taught it was without color. So
Okay.
it's just but you could always go with colored pencils, or if you have watercolor pencils, anything. You can treat what we just did as a coloring book page and color it in. Really, you could do anything with it. The sky's the limit. It might be fun. You could color in the background and leave the shapes uncolored, or the opposite. There's so many different things you could do.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, have fun with it. I'd love to see what you come up with.
Do the pods have a Zentangle
Name.
Do the pods have a name?
They don't have a name. They don't have a name. They're a tangulation of, like, poke root, poke leaf variation. But this twining vine thing in the middle is called Me Too, which I think is MITOO, which I will admit I really don't like the name for a Zentangle pen.
I actually thought it was MI number 2.
Oh, it could be that. Is it that? Could be that.
I wouldn't swear to that, but I feel like it is.
Whatever, or it could be this. I don't know. We got options. Yeah. So
Or TU.
or TU or MITU. You decide. Jury's out. I don't know. All right. So that was a really pretty quickie that we made. Are you ready for another one? Great. So, and again, you can see this is just without, this was on a big, one of the bigger 5x5 ones, because that was what I had on hand. Same kind of thing, but they're both pretty in their own way. Okay, so let's go to your other square tile that maybe you painted or maybe you didn't. Either way is good. And mine has a string on it, but I'm going to totally ignore it. So you can feel free to ignore yours as well. Are we ready to move on to the next one? Everybody good? Yeah? Okay, great. So I'm going to straight away with my pen again. Going to play, again, this is another project pack. Let's see, this one was day 7. Project pack 25, day 7. So there's a Zentangle video like this as well, but not with a beautiful painted background like ours. So they're playing with the Tangle Tripoli, which is a triangular shape, which we use a lot. I love it. But they were doing it with a 4-sided figure. So not a square, because we don't want them to all be perfectly square, because that's square. So we're going to make 4-sided shapes that are interesting. And I would invite you to go bigger rather than smaller because we're going to do fragments inside of these square-ish shapes that we're going to make. So no smaller than an inch square so that you have room to play. I have this a little bit of a string line here that I'm going to use as a starting point just because it's here. And I'm going to make a square shape. But I played around with it so that, you know, they are not all 90-degree angles. They splay out a little bit.
Sorry, Micah, I don't have the string on my tile and I'm having a hard time seeing the string. Should I just follow along in the middle of the tile?
You don't need a string at all.
Perfect, thank you.
Just make a square shape on your tile. That's all you need to do. I just had a little space to help guide me as a start, but you don't need anything. Okay, so a square-ish shape in the middle-ish of your tile. Notice mine is not in the middle-ish at all. But the next step that we're going to do is we're going to aura one of the lines of this four-sided figure fairly closely. That's what we're going to work for consistency with this aura here. But then we're going to make another square-ish shape coming off of it like that. And again, I'm intentionally making my shapes not square. And I'm going to keep doing that. So I'm going to take this line here. Yours are going to be different from mine. So you're going to go from a line that you've already made, make an aura that doesn't touch, make another square-ish shape. And you can see I'm turning my tile all around. So now I've got this space here. So I'm going to make another four-sided figure here that auras this line and auras this line, and then creates a squarish shape like that. You're just going to go, you can go off of your tile, you can adhere to the borders of your tile, you can leave space, just have fun playing around with these figures that we're making. Don't let them get too small because we're going to make things inside of them, so you want to have room. So I'm totally ignoring my border there. My paint ends, but my pen line continues. That's totally fine. You can fill the whole space, or you can decide to leave some space untangled. Up to you. So I think I'm going to leave mine sort of like that with some empty spaces. I may change my mind, but for right now, I'm going to stop with what's here. You can change your mind too. But now we're going to put some fragments inside each of these square-ish shapes. So find one that appeals to you. We're going to make an X through the middle, but with a certain kind of shape. So I'm going to make a bar that goes diagonally through the middle, but it has flared edges. So it's going to flare at the top and flare at the bottom, and then opposite flare at the top and flare at the bottom. Easier for me to show you than to explain. Okay, that's one side, and then opposite direction on the other side, flaring out a little bit at the bottom. Inside any of the shapes that you decide you want to start with. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing in the other direction across, but we're going to have to draw behind, but with the same little flared top and bottom. And just remembering to draw behind when it intersects the first one that we did there. It's kind of, it looks a little bit like a skull and crossbones kind of a thing. Okay, and we're going to do that on all of these square-ish shapes that we made. So for here, and we're going to play off of all of these little curved beginning and endings. So like so, and I'm going to try to maintain the same thickness of these crossbars here, but you know, it doesn't have to be exact. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and do these for all of these four-sided figures here. Just pay attention to, you know, which figure you're addressing, where you need to draw behind. It ends up this very intricate web that is actually, you know, quite simple to do, but it just requires focus. So just keep track of where you are. After each line, pause, consider for a moment, think where you're going next. This is the epitome of mindfulness. Can't just put ink down willy-nilly. We're following a specific pattern, but within that pattern, there's lots of room for variation and interpretation, but we want to be mindful about it. As we weave this web, beautiful interconnecting lines. Relax your grip on your pen, turn your tile as you need. Come back to your intention. enjoy the repetitive process. If you have space around your outside border, you could make sort of like an aura around the outside. You don't have to, but you could. That kind of mimics the other auras. I'm just doing mine in the painted area. And you'll see what I'm going to do in a second. Then inside the painted border where that aura is, I'm just going to make a little like nub where that webbing might poke through the other side. This is totally optional. You may not want to do this. Maybe what you've got is just fine. So if you're still working on that, keep going, but maybe just pause for a moment to see what the next step is. I think we need some drama and some ink. So if you find each place where those skull and crossbones, if you were, intersect inside your spaces, we're going to go ahead and make an orb that falls behind that intersection. And then we're going to color it in. So really adding a third layer of overlap, and the ink adds a lot of drama. So we're going to go ahead and find each intersection and go ahead and make that orb that falls behind This is another fragment that has so many different uses and so many possibilities. And these orbs that you're making don't all have to be the same size because each shape is different. So just kind of listen to what's happening on your tile, react to it, respond to it. Take your time as you identify each next intersection where you're placing your orb. Relax your grip, relax your shoulders, come back to your intention. Remember to breathe. All right, so we've got something like that. I see mostly heads down still, so I'll give you another minute to keep working on what you're doing.
Micah, what did you do with the line around the whole shape?
Yeah, so because I didn't go all the way to the edges, so I just made an aura that was kind of the same width as what I was using for as I designated each shape, and
Mm-hmm.
then I had the little like crosshatch webbing kind of poke through behind. It's an optional detail. You don't need to do that, but just something to play with. If you went all the way to the edges, that's going to be harder to do. So let's play around with a little bit of shading. So I'm going to identify, this may have been the one that I started with, this shape here. And on either side of my little sort of flared lines, I'm going to put a whole lot of graphite in each of those little intersections. And then just to show you what it's going to look like, I'm going to blend it out. And again, I don't want to make the whole thing gray. I want variation. So it's going to be something like that. And I want where this crosshatch overlaps, I put a little bit there too. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and each of these shapes, each of the fragments, and put a little bit of graphite. I think that first one felt like it was maybe even a little bit too much. This one I put less, just a little bit in each corner. And then blending out. It felt like too much because I didn't want to make the whole space gray. I wanted to leave room for gradations. So if you put a little bit less, all right, so I'm just going to keep going all the way through each shape, one at a time. Just carefully putting a little graphite in each one of these little crevices. You can do one at a time, you can do them all and then blend, whatever you want. And it's amazing that just a series of lines can yield a design that looks so complex and so layered. Slow yourself down. Come back to your intention. Enjoy the process. It is not about the product. It's about the journey that we're on while we're making it. How do you feel? If it's anything less than relaxed and enjoying, Ask yourself why. And what do you need to do to get to a place where this is just being? There's nothing to prove. There's no grade. There's no supposed to, better than or less than. We're just creating because it's fun to create. I'm doing a few at a time, shading just a tiniest little bit in each corner, and then blending it out with the tortillon. This is one where the shading really makes it come alive. It's a pretty pattern on its own, but then once you shade, it's like, wow, how did you do that? And you can use the graphite from, sort of neighboring areas to kind of spread where you want it to go. You don't have to add more graphite always. Sometimes it's just a little bit. That's what you need it to do. So I just happen to have a white charcoal. I'm kind of just wondering what would happen if I go into some of these places and highlight. If you don't have this tool, that's okay. And when you're ready, you can put your chop on the front. This doesn't really have a name. It's sort of Tripoli in the square. So it's like a polygon. Tripoli, but four-sided with fragments. And today is the 29th. So just a fun pattern to play around with, fun things to do on our painted tiles. I'd love to see yours when you're ready to share them. You can hold them up to the screen. I'm going to remove my spotlight. Let's see, I'm going to go to the gallery. How do I do that? Yes, okay. Let's see. There we go. Oh my goodness. Stunning. Oh, wow. These are beautiful. Well done. Wait, put them, if you took yours down, put them back up again. Oh, I love them.
I so like the painted background.
It's so fun, right?
I got completely lost with connecting the lines.
Oh, well,
So
that
then, no. So then I added a million of those little balls and had one roll away.
Look, put it back in the center, Michelle, so I can see.
Oh,
Yeah, see, you did it. It all worked out
oh,
great.
it looks okay. It looks okay. I kind of saved it.
It looks great.
But
Oh,
Micah, the permanent pen has a different kind of nib.
a little bit different, yeah.
It doesn't work as smoothly.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
I
don't
think I
like it
prefer
at
the
all.
other.
Yep, we'll go back. It was just an experiment, so, but I agree. It's not as smooth. Judy, they look beautiful. I love the colors that you chose for your backgrounds. Enid, wonderful. Wow.
Thank you.
Julie,
I'm
Tamara.
always stunned that we're all doing our own thing and how beautiful they are and different they all are.
It's
It's
amazing.
amazing.
That's what I love about Zentangle, and you're listening to my instructions and watching what I'm doing, but your hand is your hand and you're your own artist. So it's so fun to see what you come up with. This has
I
been
really like the irregular shapes of the squares because I actually tried this tangle. Someone had shared it with me earlier where they were all even and it looks
oh
so different.
yes.
Oh, no, it looks
Mm,
better.
You know,
Yes.
much more. I like it better when they're uneven
Fluid.
like this,
So,
the
Me too.
squares.
Micah, remember last time there was a pattern that we did that my brain couldn't do. That this one, I always have trouble with Tripoli, keeping it regular.
Yeah.
And this too, I had a similar problem trying to keep it regular.
So then embrace the irregular.
Well, there it is.
I think that's the only answer. It doesn't
Although I would say if a doctor looked at this, he'd say you need surgery, girl.
Yeah, but look at mine. It's not regular. I was going for, just whatever kind of was going to happen. So,
I ended up with a triangle in the middle of mine, so I had to try to figure out how to deal with that.
Amy,
Well,
so
that's fun.
I had triangles and I just
Hard
and
to
I
see it, but there's one in there.
Oh,
No, it
it
looks
it's
good.
cool. It like starts more like tinier from the middle and then gets bigger as you go out.
and
I
I found that when you try to connect within, you said say focused on the lines as they come across,
Yeah.
sometimes that didn't lead to corner to corner. Well, let me say too many times did not lead to corner
All
to
right.
corner.
All right. Well, one to do again and one to practice.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
absolutely. Very,
but
very fun. Thank you.
everyone, thank you so much. Everything that you've done looks beautiful. I hope you've enjoyed this session, and I don't know when our next one is, in the spring, maybe. Um,
Thank
so
you. It was fun.
Thank
I'll
you.
work on fun
Really
things for us
great.
to work on then. So thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank
Beautiful
you.
work, Micah.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.